Welcome back everyone, my name is Will from Ghost Hack, and today you are watching the third part of how to start a dubstep track. In the first episode we did the drums, and the last episode we did the basses, and today we are going to be making variations. We're going to be going into the second half of this drop and kind of doing some different stuff, changing some things around, maybe doing some editing here and there, and just generally kind of seeing where this track is taking us at this point. In the last two episodes we created this right here, so I'm just going to play this so you know exactly what we're working with. Alright, I know that the mix may sound kind of bad for this, mainly between the drums and the basses, but the important thing right now is that the drums really punch out above the basses. If you have really loud drums, then when you go into the mastering chain and you really crush everything down, it's going to make it sound very, very loud. So there is nothing happening on this chain. When we run it through the master, it's going to sound a lot better. Also, I had a couple ideas right here that I want to just run through real quick and see if they'll work. Alright, the first thing I did is on the snare channel right here, I created this automation clip, which is just kind of going from down to up at this part and then going back down. And this is the dry wet of this EQ right here. And this EQ is just rolling off just at the low end right here. Just rolling off a bit of that fundamental and rolling off some of the very high end. And that's going to kind of weaken the snare a bit. You can tell that this snare right here is a lot weaker than this. Like you can tell this one has more high end if we listen to it just by itself. More high end and more low end, and this one is just, it's just a little weaker. It's a little more in the background. So that's just something I wanted to add because I thought the snare was a little strong there. Also, another thing I was thinking, right here I added a little panning envelope, which is right to this bass, this plucky bass right here. And I wanted to just pan those big hits happening right there to either side, because I think it would add some cool variation, and I think it works pretty well. Alright, now moving on with what we're doing in this episode, I'm just going to copy and paste all of this happening right here, and this is where we are going to add variation. Adding variation is very important to making a good dubstep track because there are two things that the human ear likes. It likes repetition and it likes variation. And I believe the key to making a good dubstep song, along with having like good sounds and like sound design and drums and stuff like that, is having a good mix between repetition and variation. If you can do that, that's how you really draw in a crowd at like a show or just a listener on SoundCloud. That's what people like to hear. So I want to repeat it basically, but I want to make some changes. First off, what I want to do is I want to take these second hits right here, and I want to kind of just slide them around, slide the audio file around in its space. So now that I have them both selected, I can hold Alt, and I can just slide it around to a good spot. So I want to pick one spot near the end. That's a weird tail. So now these other ones right here can be slid back because they were slid forward before. So let's just slide them all back. And so there's our first variation. Second variation, I want to be to the main bass. So right now I'm just going to make this pattern unique. I want to just make it unique so I can edit this pattern 5 and not change this pattern 4 right here. So let's go into here, and what I want to do is I want to actually duplicate the main bass that we have going here, this main melodic one. I want to duplicate it. So hit clone, and now I can make a little bit of just some subtle changes. And I think all I would have to do is mess with the timbre knob here, which is conveniently placed in the preset itself. Alright, I think I'll try this right here. So for pattern 5, I will copy everything and then paste everything in the new instrument. And I think the final thing I want to do is add yet another variation of the same sound. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to clone it once again. I'm going to do basically the same thing, except I'm just going to take the last half, these last few notes right here. So copy these and then go over to the new instance and paste them right there. Delete them, and now we have our new sound that will replace it in the final section. So let's once again just change the timbre. So now these are 3 sounds. Are 3 variations of the same sound. We are also definitely going to have to add a variation to that kind of goblin bass. That's kind of dirty, I like it. And you guessed it, we're going to do the same thing once again. All we have to do is clone it and then take the notes from this last half. I do want to make a note, cloning these serums can be very heavy on your memory and processing. However, the best way to kind of counter that is to go into Tools, Macros, and go Switch Smart Disable for all plugins. I believe I already have mine on. That is going to say if a plugin is not playing, if it's not in use, you know, your FL Studio will turn it off. It'll just stay off and it won't be taking up any of your processing. So that's really the only reason why I'm comfortable making all these different serums instead of just automating macro knobs. So let's go ahead and make some more variation. There, I think something like this. It's a little less piercing, but it's still keeping a bit of that squarey quality. As before, we need more sound variation with this guy. And all we have to do to make that change is move this position knob, which I found a good place here. This is the first one. This is the variation. Actually, I found it much more pleasing if I just added a little bit of asymmetrical minus instead of using this position knob. So it went from this to this. But now, since we are only making one variation of this sound, we really need to change up the pattern. Alright, so now the second part with the plucking bass variation sounds like this. One thing we need to do though is we need to connect this variated serum. We need to connect it to this panning envelope so we can control it, because it definitely needs to be panned. So let's right click here on the pan, link to controller, and select Serum 4 channel panning, accept, and now it should go right along with it. Yes, it does. So first off, we'll go over here and we'll just make this unique so we can make a different pattern. And I think we just want the same thing over here. Yep, let's just scoot it aside. Also, what we will do is now we can take this sliding bass. Let's see, where would this be? Yeah, this one. This sliding saw wave. And we can now move this one up. Let's see, we'll just make it nice and high. Yeah, we'll just move it up an octave like that. And now we can change up these bass hits right here. They need to be switched up. I kind of like how the lasers sound in this loop right here. So I may take one of those and put them right there. This is from Dubstep Sound Arsenal. So I think I'm just going to drag it right into there. So let's take one of the laser sounds. Now I actually do like the high laser, except it's very weak. You can hear there's not a lot of things happening in the mid to low region. It's not really filling up that much space. So it does need a little bit of a layer. And I think I can just drag this one out right here and use this. Except it is too loud. So all I can have to do is just chop it and then make it unique. So go ahead and make unique. Then you just turn it down. And of course we have to make change ups to this final fill right here. So now we have this little pattern, and I need to put a Prida snare right here, just like, and then just to fill up that space. Let's see if we just layer this snare. This one's too quiet. I'm also going to route it through the side chaining. So the main hit that we have going right here will be the snare. And then what really is going to help is taking this pre-snare right here and doing it right here so we have kind of a pre-kick. And I think that actually works so well that I'm going to do it over here as well. Let's see if I take just the pre-snare and put it like right here or something. Yeah, it just kind of slides into the next bit. I think it sounds pretty good. All right, we're almost done here, but the last thing I think I want to do is I want to make a change up right here. I want to switch around stuff that I did. I want to just move some things around. I think it just fits. Which also means we have to make the sub kind of follow that pattern. Then for even more variation, let's just make this last bit go even faster. We add a little bit of separation. Alright, now that should wrap it up for this episode. I know it was probably not as interesting as the other episodes so far because we haven't actually, made too much else on top of it. We were just kind of perfecting what we have so far, and obviously it's not perfect yet. We're going to make it as best we can as we go through the track. But like I said in the beginning, this is just kind of seeing where the song is taking us, making variations, making sure, people don't get bored. And these are very important stuff to do. Like, this is one of the most important steps, I think, in making a dubstep track, is doing this kind of thing. But now that we're finished for today, I'm just going to play everything that we have, and then I will wrap it up. Alright, so that is it. I really think this track is coming together. Thank you guys so much for your support, and I will see you in the next video. Happy producing.